Have you ever heard of a man who became famous for inventing something that could destroy millions, and then decided to dedicate his entire fortune to peace? This isn't fiction. This is the real story of Alfred Nobel, the man behind the Nobel Prize, one of the most prestigious honors in human history. But his journey began with guilt, a misunderstanding, and a shocking newspaper headline that changed his life forever. Let's rewind the clock to the early 1800s. Alfred Nobel was born on October 21, 1833, in Stockholm, Sweden. He was a quiet, curious child, more interested in chemistry sets and machines than games. His father, Emanuel, was an engineer who built bridges and experimented with explosives. When Alfred was just 9, his father's business failed, and the family moved to Russia, where his dad started developing underwater mines for the military. It was there that young Alfred was exposed to science on a grand scale. He was fascinated by gunpowder and chemical reactions, things that terrified others, but to him they were poetry in motion. He spoke several languages, loved literature, and even wrote poems. But beneath this sensitive heart was a restless mind obsessed with invention. By the time he was 17, Alfred had studied chemistry in Paris and America. He was ready to make his mark on the world, though he didn't yet know how dark that mark would be. In the mid-1800s, one of the most dangerous materials in the world was nitroglycerin. It was powerful, capable of blasting through mountains, but extremely unstable. Even a small jolt could make it explode. Many scientists tried to make it safe, but most failed. Then came Alfred Nobel. He began experimenting with nitroglycerin, determined to control its power. He worked with his brothers, often risking their lives. In 1864, tragedy struck. A massive explosion in their family factory killed 5 people, including Alfred's younger brother, Emil. The explosion shook not just the ground, but Alfred's soul. He could have stopped. He could have walked away from explosives forever. But he didn't. He went back to work, more determined than ever to make explosives safe. And in 1867, Alfred Nobel did the impossible. He invented dynamite, a stable, easy-to-handle explosive that could be safely transported and used for construction and mining. He patented it, and almost overnight, Alfred became a millionaire. Dynamite transformed the modern world, building tunnels, bridges, and railways that connected nations. But soon it was also used in war, to kill people. The same invention that could build mountains was now being used to destroy lives. For years, Alfred Nobel continued to invent. He created more powerful explosives and new chemical compounds. By the time he was in his 50s, he had over 350 patents and companies in more than 20 countries. He lived alone, traveled constantly, and was known for his reclusive, mysterious nature. He never married, though he had once fallen deeply in love with a woman named Countess Bertha Kinsky, who later became a peace activist. But the turning point in his life came in 1888 with a shocking mistake. That year, Alfred's brother Ludwig died in France, but a French newspaper thought it was Alfred who had died. So they published an obituary with the headline, "The Merchant of Death is Dead." It read, "Dr. Alfred Nobel, who became rich by finding ways to kill more people faster than ever before, died yesterday." Can you imagine? Reading your own obituary and realizing how the world truly sees you. That moment shattered Alfred Nobel. He saw that his life's work, the inventions he thought would build progress, were being remembered as tools of death. He was alive, but his conscience was dying. Alfred Nobel could have ignored it. He could have spent his fortune on luxury or simply disappeared. But instead, he made a decision that would change the world forever. He decided to rewrite his legacy. In his will, written in 1895, Alfred Nobel did something no one expected. He left 94% of his fortune, equivalent to hundreds of millions of dollars today, to create a series of prizes for those who have conferred the greatest benefit to humankind. He wrote that the interest from his fortune should be divided into 5 parts. to be awarded each year for physics, chemistry, physiology or medicine, literature, and peace. The Peace Prize was inspired, many believe, by Bertha von Suttner, his former companion, who was a passionate advocate for peace. Their friendship had shown Alfred that real progress was not in destruction, but in compassion and creation. In his will, he specified that the Peace Prize should go to the person who has done the most for pruinity true ikitudina, or fraternity between nations, for the abolition or reduction of standing armies, and for the holding and promotion of peace congresses. It was a revolutionary idea. A man who made his fortune from explosives was now dedicating it all to peace and human advancement. Alfred Nobel spent his final years in Italy, suffering from health issues but continuing to invent. He was a lonely man, haunted by how the world perceived him, but also at peace with what he had set in motion. On December 10, 1896, Alfred Nobel passed away. When his will was opened, it stunned the world. Most of his relatives were shocked. Some were angry. Governments were confused. How could one man give away such a massive fortune not to his family, but to a foundation for humanity? It took years of legal disputes, but finally, in 1901, the first Nobel Prizes were awarded. That day marked the birth of a new era, an era of honoring the best in humanity. Since then, the Nobel Prize has become the highest symbol of achievement, awarded to scientists, writers, and peacemakers who shape our world. Winners include legends like Albert Einstein, Marie Curie, Martin Luther King Jr., and Malala Yousafzai. Each Nobel Prize medal bears the image of Alfred Nobel, a quiet reminder that greatness can come from guilt and redemption. To this day, the prizes are awarded every December 10th, the anniversary of his death, to honor the man who transformed regret into generosity. But what's most powerful about Alfred Nobel's story isn't just the prize. It's the message it carries. He teaches us that it's never too late to change your legacy. That one decision, born from self-reflection and conscience, can impact humanity for centuries. He could have been remembered as a wealthy inventor, or as the merchant of death. Instead, he became a symbol of peace, progress, and purpose. Think about it. Every time someone wins a Nobel Prize, they're not just being rewarded for discovery. They're carrying forward Alfred Nobel's wish to use human genius for good. He turned his fortune into a beacon of hope. He transformed the meaning of his own name. And he showed the world that redemption is possible, even for those who once created destruction. If Alfred Nobel could see the world today, he'd see scientists finding cures for deadly diseases, writers giving hope through words, and activists fighting for peace and equality. He might smile, knowing that his prize continues to push humanity toward the light. But maybe he'd also remind us that progress and peace must always walk hand in hand. Because true innovation isn't just about invention, it's about intention. So, the next time you hear about the Nobel Prize, don't just think of it as an award. Think of it as a story. The story of a man who saw his reflection in a newspaper headline and decided to change it. A man who taught the world that the greatest invention is a better version of yourself. Alfred Nobel once said, "If I have 1,000 ideas and only one turns out to be good, I am satisfied." But in the end, his greatest idea wasn't dynamite. It was the Nobel Prize. And through it, he achieved something far more powerful than any explosion. He achieved immortality. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories like this, and share it with someone who believes that change begins within. Because as Alfred Nobel proved, sometimes one man's regret can become humanity's greatest reward.